doing great things. Dap my partner up, I'm glad he on the same thing. Bills is going up, but I know how to maintain. Had to cut him off, but I ain't got to say name. Hey, plans of being the boss and I ain't gang bang. Some of my brothers did, but we be on the same thing. Solid sense of kid, respect is just the main thing. If I said it, I'm gon' do it. I ain't changed. Hey, I'm from the west side.
And hello. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the I Am Courtney Chandler podcast. We discover ourselves, we embrace it, and unlock the potential within. Listen, we appreciate you, whatever day, month, year, whatever time you're taking out the opportunity or chance to listen to this podcast and watch this podcast as well. I appreciate you and watch and listen on this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on YouTube. And also, you can follow on Instagram, I Am Courtney Chandler Podcast, and on Facebook, I Am Courtney Chandler Podcast. Listen, hope you all having a great week. Listen, we have another very, very special guest. As I told you, this season is nothing but guests, and we're talking about some cool topics. So we're going to hop right into the episode. And at this time, let's see who we're going to have on this week's episode of the I Am Courtney Chandler Podcast.
Alicia Noelle is the owner of Sufficient Success Digital Marketing Agency, a digital media marketing agency founded in 2021 that embraces Black women ownership and centers its mission around empowering and uplifting Black women creators and small businesses. Through Sufficient Success, Alicia has taught more than 500 women through the Sufficiently Social Society. Before founding Sufficient Success, Alicia spent 10 years working in the communications and marketing space in the corporate sector. Along with the many hats Alicia wears, she's a wife, mother, and youth pastor. The I Am Courtney Chandler podcast welcomes Alicia Noelle.
A lot of times you haven't really thought through that persona of who is it that I'm trying to help and how am I positioning my content to show them that I'm the right person to help them. And when you change that up, when you change up your business strategy, when you change up your content strategy to align with, I want to help this exact person and this is how I plan to help them. When you do that, things start falling into place.
Hey, everybody, without further ado, let's bring on, for the first time on the I Am Courtney Chandler podcast, Ms. Alicia Noelle. What's going on, Alicia? How are you?
I am awesome, Courtney. Thank you so much for having me in that awesome introduction. And as you said, the first time, hopefully not the last.
Absolutely. And this will give you all a little back history. Me and Alicia, we were fellow Troy Trojans. Go Troy here. And we're also first fam, aka Alpha Phi Alpha, Mu Alpha, Xi Beta. So we family in this part right here.
Absolutely, our roots are deep, and it's just amazing to see where we've come since Troy.
Right. I know we've both come a long way, and we have a lot going on, and of course we're gonna talk about that in this episode. First, let's talk about what this episode is called. It's called I Am a Content Creator. And as you always listening to the intro, Alicia has been doing this for quite some time. In fact, she has her own brand, her own agency. And, that's why we're here, because we have a lot of content creators that watch and listen to this podcast, and maybe some that are inspiring to be content creators as well. So we're going to hop on into our discussion. So first off, Alicia, the first question I want to ask you is, when did you discover that creating content full-time was something you wanted to do?
Oh, see, this is the interesting story because I never saw this as being like my full-time, something that I would do until, of course, I'm in the middle of the pandemic. I have a new baby at home. I have a toddler at home. And to be honest, I just did not want to go back into an office every day. So that was a big piece for me and reasoning why I wanted to do it. But I would say the root of it for me started when I was a kid. The home movies, all of that. Like I have tons of content you guys will never see of me singing on a camera, of me, telling stories at family functions. And I think those moments really birthed in me who you see today, being able to be on camera, being able to show up. And a lot of it I will credit back to my time at Troy. So that was like obviously going to broadcast journalism school and really getting comfortable editing, being in front of the camera. So shout out to the J School because they prepared me for this more than I would have ever imagined.
Absolutely. Yeah, shout out to JC. You mentioned something that I can agree with you. There are some videos that my parents have that people will never see. In fact, my parents always talk about when I was small, how I used to mimic my granddad preaching. And there's tapes, and there's tapes, and there's tapes, and they will never be released to the public. So don't expect to see those tapes. So I feel you on that. As far as there's a lot of stuff you probably never see, but I agree. Like we had the same, upbringing in that sense. And then of course the J school, I think it just anybody that goes to Troy University that wants to be a broadcast journalist, the J school prepares you. I mean, it gives you all the tools you need for once you graduate, you can go out and be successful. Um, Next question I want to ask you is, how has your content, the content that you create, how have you been able to use that to inspire and help others in what you do?
So I'll start for me and say the whole reason that I do what I do is to help other people. And I think when I put that as like, this is going to be my focus is how can I help someone else? It changed the way I created content. I don't create because, oh, this is just, I don't want to say it's not, it is fun for me, but more important than it being fun for me, it has to be valuable to someone else. So that's been my main focus is how is this valuable to someone else? How can I make sure that when they see this, they're learning something, they're inspired, encouraged, and I know that a lot of people get a lot of flack for it. But as a woman of faith, as a Christian, I weave that into my messaging in what I'm posting about as well. I never make it a space where I feel where anyone should feel like they're not welcome, but instead I weave it in a way to where they understand I have a duty to be a reflection of Jesus in everything that I put out and everything that I do. And that's also a part of my business and my content. And so, whereas we're praying before the podcast episode starts, I'm praying before I take on a new client, before I go live, before I make a decision in my business. I'm always focused on is this what God is leading me to do, calling me to do? And then I'm using the platform that he's now given me because I totally credit it to him to make sure that he is glorified in what I put out and what I share. So I'm always thinking through what woman needs to see this? How is it going to affect her business? How is she going to feel? Um, Empowered after she sees what I'm putting out? And then am I shifting people who may have lost their way in their faith to be re-engaged with it, to really tap back into who they're called to be? And by putting out really unique content, I won't say I do anything that's just massively different than someone else, but I'm always focused on the messaging. I'm focusing on things being clear, and I'm focusing on making sure someone else can watch it and quickly take action. Because a lot of times when creators give you this long action plan and you're like, oh, this seems unbearable at the moment, then it's not easy for you to digest and process. So I really want to make it digestible and make it realistic. I'm a mom. I know that people are busy lives. I don't have time to be sitting here editing, 40 hours of video.
That's true. And I was gonna ask you that. I know you mentioned, you pray and you talk to God about, before you put out your content, but what other things, what else is a part of your process? Because you do, if we go to your page, I mean, you have a lot of different content as far as like, and things of, encouragement, but also very helpful information for content creators or people who aspire to be content creators. So what else goes into the process for you?
So for me, I never share anything that I haven't tested to be tried and true. And so that goes to like even, and I will, potentially talk about it, but brand partnerships. I'm not just working with any brand. Hey, we'll give you free this, different that. I'm like, you can send it to me and I'll test it out. And if it works, I'm happy to share about it. But if it doesn't, I'm not going to do that either. And I think that trust that my audience knows, like, hey, like I got a new camera today. I'm going to be, testing it out and telling them, is this something that I think could be beneficial to their process? So I'm always analyzing, but I do a lot of research. And so I know, and this is for all my content creators who have a spouse, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever it may be. Why are you always on your phone? I am doing a lot of research most of the time to see what is working, what's trending. And by doing that research, that plays a part in what I create. And then also being very intentional with it is, if someone saw this and did not know me, would this be a reflection of my brand to them? I always keep that in mind, whatever I'm doing. If I go to post something, and it's not that I'm not being authentic, it's just I don't want to ever come off in a way that's off-putting or nasty. I had someone recently on Threads that kind of called me crazy for how I said something. And I said, I think you interpreted it wrong. Which happens on Threads. It happens in written communication. A lot of times people can't hear your heart and where you're coming from. And so that's why I love video content, because a lot of times you can see obviously facial expressions, but you can also feel the emotions and the way I say words, and knowing that I'm coming from a place of love and a place of how can we help each other, because I truly want to see every woman win, and men too. But I feel like there's just, and of course, my target audience is women, because I
Right.
feel like when you tap into who you are as a woman, and you don't allow for the world to tell you who that is, it's a refreshing feeling. And this comes from someone who had to do a lot of internal processing to get to this space of not being deserving, of not being in a position that feels good. But I don't care if I'm out and I pull out my tripod and pop up my camera. I don't care anymore. And I
Mhm.
used to care a lot about that. Like, oh, what are they gonna think? Oh, she's, self-obsessed and all these things. And I'm like, no, this is how I make a living now, and I enjoy doing it. And if you want to learn from me, great. If you just want to watch, that's okay too.
Right. And I've been a part of the Reels challenge that you put out in February with your brand. And I mean, it's been very helpful for me just creating Reels and knowing just the rules about Reels and trending audio. I kind of want to touch on that because I thought that was very unique. And let me just say this, it's nobody has told you you are like one of the queens of Reels. You get it from me because I mean your reels are definitely top notch. So I definitely flowers on that because you have excellent reels. But just for is that one way or just an easy way for a lot of content creators to get off the ground just is by creating reels and creating them shortable and is that really a way that you have been successful when you got started? Let's just talk about real since we're all part of this real challenge.
Oh, perfect timing for it. And I actually have a post to remind people, one reel for me changed my whole life.
Wow.
I was 100% against doing video like this. Like I would go live, but to do like the short form content, because when it became popular, it was dancing. I have zero rhythm. I was like, this is not going to work for me. But as it evolved and different types of short form video became very popular, I was like, this starts to feel good.
And I
Right.
will never forget sitting in our old house, and I had a little bitty corner in our master bedroom where my husband was like, yeah, set that up, go live, create your content over there. So I'm in this little corner and I do a video, and I'm scrolling on my phone, and I was like, the point of view is when I help my clients build and grow their audience. Well, that reel got like 90,000 views, and I landed my biggest client at the time from that reel.
Wow.
And it wasn't just like a land a big client, it was a multi seven-figure business. And it led to a role that I took running her entire marketing. And so I was able really to learn what a startup business looks like from the inside because of posting a reel. And so I tell people all the time, reels as a whole are the best way to get exposure to new people who don't know you. They did not have any idea who this little girl in Alabama was. And because of video content, I was able to really land with a really great company and learned a lot during my time there. And so if you're brand new to creating reels, you're trying to figure out how do I unlock the cheat code, you need to start by keeping them short. Keeping them less than 10 seconds is ideal, even shorter if you can. Our attention spans are way short right now. We don't have a lot of time on our phones like we did during the height of the pandemic. And so if you can't hold someone for 4 to 7 seconds, you're not ever going to be able to keep them for longer. So that is the one of the key things that I tell people is keep it really short. And then after that, of course, using the trending audios, they need to be less than 5,000 uses, because you see these audios that are, 100,000, 33,000, and you're like, oh, this is it. Let me jump on this. But the problem is it's so saturated, you're
Yeah.
also getting lost. And I know a lot of people don't know that. You're just like, this is trending. Let me hop on it. But once you realize that and you really focus on the words that you put on the screen, most of us, especially the middle to late millennials who have kids, we're watching videos with the sound off because we're like, I don't never know what's going to happen with the sound. Could be some cuss words popping off.
Right.
And so I'm mostly watching reels with the sound off. And what I have found is that those words that are popping up on the screen become even more valuable to get the message across. And so, of course, positioning them, giving your space room for above your head to put words on the screen, room on your chest to put words, that really does help. And just making sure their video quality is as good as possible. Doesn't have to be amazing. Your words matter more, but if you can use the back camera instead of the front camera of your phone, you're going to find that you're getting a little bit better quality content. And that's really helped all of my clients as well as those in the challenges that I do and in the society.
Wow. That you gave a whole spiel for somebody who's trying to start. I mean, if of course they need to come to be a part of the next real challenge, but if you're watching this episode, Alicia just literally gave you the spiel she gave me and
Quick
everyone.
breakdown.
Yeah, write it down. Take some notes. Take some notes. Because it's definitely helpful. I think I did that first reel I showed you. It got 1,000 views, and like my reels now are ranging between, I think, between 500 to 1,000. Most the most views I got was 3,000. That was after Super Bowl. Through that Usher reel that I did. So definitely, I'm just letting y'all know it works. It does work. I want to transition. Well, we're gonna stay on the same topic, but just what questions do people need to answer if they want to start off being a content creator? Because I know a lot of people come up and say, I want to do content, I want to be a content creator full time, but they don't know where to start. They don't know how to begin. So what questions do they need to start off with and have early with themselves before they start creating content?
Perfect question. And the first thing I always ask people is, who are you creating content for?
Mm.
If you don't understand who it is that you serve and who it is that you can help with your content. And a lot of people are like, oh, well, I'm not a business. Who do I help? But if you're a fashionista, if you're a hair tutorial, if you're a guy who likes to show off the latest tech gadgets, you're helping insert that person who needs that. Like right now, I got a brand new camera and I'm steadily searching for who's used the camera, what's the shortcuts for the camera, all these things. So I'm searching for that. If you were an expert in this and you were creating the content, I would be your ideal audience looking for you. And so when we think about that, when we think about like the hair, the makeup, all these different tutorials, you define who is going to receive and consume that content. So once you have defined that, you know who it is that you're serving, then you can build out all the other pieces, all the other legs and arms that are going to help you on the journey. So don't skip that step. A lot of people just say, I want to create content and I'm going to start putting it out. Once you know who it's for, you can also decide what platforms you need to be on. So maybe you don't need to be on Instagram. Maybe you need to be on TikTok. Maybe you need to be on Pinterest. So it's really, really important that you are figuring out the who first, because when you figure out the who, you can serve them best. So I don't want you guys to miss that the who is going to happen for you. So you have the who, and now that you have the who, you can really begin to serve them best by creating the content that they're going to consume. And really, once you know that, set the goals in place. I want to work with X brands. I want to sell, these things in my business. Whatever the goals are from you creating the content will also feed into and drive the content purpose. Because if you're out here just creating content and you're just spinning on a wheel with no goal in mind. But if you put a goal in mind, you can start working towards that goal. You can reach out to brands. I have like templates for people to reach out to brands and pitch their page. A lot of people think, if they have, a smaller audience that they can't pitch brands, but brands actually like working with smaller audiences. Their budget may be smaller for you, but they like that because they're able to really get a targeted niche that's small, and your engagement rate may be much higher than someone who has a really large audience. So that would be my first steps, is figure out the who, make a goal of what's the end goal for you creating content, and then start testing it out. If you're not trying it out, trying to see what works for you, you're missing out on, you're telling yourself no before you even get started, because you're making it sound hard. Just try it out and see. The good thing is, all you got to do is have a phone. You don't have to have anything crazy. Yes, I have a new camera. I'm going to be talking about that. I have an iPhone, and I shoot on my iPhone 90% of the time, and it's really good quality. And I edit in free apps like CapCut, so that I don't have to worry about paying for those as well.
And I think that's what a lot of misconceptions sometimes come, is people think that you have to spend a lot of money. And I tell them, like, these phones work as almost better than the camera that I use at work. I've done a whole interview with my phone, and it's like, bro, and I looked, this like, this camera is way better than the camera I'm using. I have to put on my back or put on my shoulder to use. And all you need now is this little small mic you can get off of Amazon. I think a lot of people get by that. Like, you have to spend a lot of money, but you don't really.
No, you don't have to spend a lot of money. And I love that you mentioned that about the microphone, because voice quality does add a huge component. And so if you're wanting to just level up a little bit, get you a tripod. I've got some linked on my Amazon store for like less than $25, and get you a microphone. And you get those two things, you're ready to go. And those are both linked. I have them. Easy links to grab them that I recommend and use.
Gotcha. So what this you gave us some great gems. Just what encouragement do you have for maybe beginning podcasters or content creators, or those who will start eventually creating content in the future?
So my first thing to you would be, get out of your own head. There's not any money in there to be had. The money is out there in the public and the viewers' eyes. So you got to get out of your own head, get out of your own way. We are mostly our biggest critics, and that's what's keeping us from creating content. So whether you need to obviously be in the word, I'm prayerful about it, about if this is the direction God has for you. Once you know you're clear on that, continue to put up scripture around you that is positive, motivational. Speak words of affirmations around you, and just create. Don't don't let those fears that I know they're there. They're there for me. Like I'm thinking, if should I put this out? And I've grown now to almost 55,000 on Instagram and other platforms, and I'm just like, I still get a little bit, but then at the same time, I'm like, the only thing that can happen is that it doesn't do as well as I want it to do. That's the worst that can happen. And even if that happens, a few people still saw it. So I think that it's super important for you to just get out of your own way and just believe that you are capable. You get up and put your pants on the same way every other person on Instagram does, every other person on TikTok and YouTube does. And so if they can do it, you can do it too. You just have to give some time to it, and don't expect it to be overnight. I know you'll see a lot of things pop up that's like how I grew, 30,000 followers in 10 days. And I'm like, that's so unrealistic. It's not reality. A lot of people don't be out here thinking you're finna give your horror married or dating story and you're gonna go viral and get a car. Let's just not think that. If it happens, great. But it's more important that you're consistent, and the consistency when you do have one go viral. I just had a student of mine. She had been posting content forever, and she had about 700 followers, which is good. And she joined my program, and we really dug into like her mindset, her posting more. She had a reel sitting in draft. I will kid you not, probably about 6 months. Once she joined the program, I was like, we're getting all of our drafts, like either post it or delete it. Like, I don't want you to have a whole bunch of drafts that you're not using. And so she posted that one that had been sitting there for about 6 months, and it got 3.3 million views. She went from 700 followers, like this was at the start of the year, start of 2024, to now she has almost 15,000 followers. And she's continually seeing growth. Her wait list is booked. I mean, she's booked out and has a wait list now for her tutoring services. And like I said, this is not like my fashion or something like really high popular traffic. She's a tutor, a literacy and writing tutor for elementary students. So I just want y'all to know whatever it is that you're passionate about can absolutely be a segue for you to create the right content and to find the right people. So just go do it. Just go do it.
Wow, that's incredible, Alicia. You like I said before, you are, in my opinion, one of the queens of reels. But just to hear how your brand and your agency has helped so many people, and then that story, I mean, it's just great. But you said something that was very key, and it does, like, sometimes it's the misconception of it, that we see all the time is people thinking it's just gonna happen, in a day or in a week. My brand can grow, and it's, I mean, and there are those rare occurrences, but it's a rarity. It's not everybody that like has that. So I'm glad you said that, because I even have felt that way. It's like, man, how they content popping in 10 days, and I've been doing content for 7 years. And I ain't got no. It's far-fetched. It's so far-fetched. But I do want to, before we wrap up, I want to give you the opportunity to share, your brand and how people can connect with you and follow you, and also join your society. So let's take a few minutes and tell people how they can follow and connect with you.
Absolutely. So across all platforms, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Pinterest, Threads, it's at I am Alicia Noelle. So please, please, please come and follow, check out, send me a DM. If you have a question after you watch the show, I am very responsive in the DMs. Give me, sometimes it takes 24 to 48 hours because sometimes it's crazy blowing up, but definitely DM me. I love to chat and just hear what your stories are, what your content creation journey's like. And then if you're ready to like really get serious about it, right now, the society is really where it's popping at. It's for women creators only, but you have a 7-day free trial, and that is running. And if for some reason it's not running when you hear this, just send me a DM and I'll give you access to it. But come try it out for 7 days. I coach in there twice a month. So I give like open Q&A coaching. And then I also teach trainings in there twice a month. So you're getting 4 opportunities to touch base with me. And then there is over 100 women in there that are like supporting each other, giving each other advice. They're collaborating. We have co-working sessions where you can come and if I taught on something on Monday, on Thursday, you should be at co-working trying to figure out how to get it done for yourself. And so it's a really great space for women to really come together and just learn and grow and really feel connected in community. I started it mostly because all of the social media creators and people that were teaching did not look like me. And while the society is open to all women, I definitely tailor into women of color who have basically not had a space that was safe for them and really make sure that we have a safe space. And so it's a beautiful space. Obviously, if you are just looking to like completely work one-on-one with me, I do have those offerings as well. You can check those out on my website.
Nice, 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 nice. And I'll also make sure we tag you in it so people who are following me on social media, they can also just hit your profile and they can follow you that way as well. Alicia, this has been awesome. So I wanted to say thank you for taking out the time. I know you're very busy. So I wanted to say thank you again for taking out the time to do this. Any final words you have before we wrap up this episode?
I just want to tell you, for one, I'm really proud of you for participating in the Reels Challenge. That's the first thing. You've been really going hard. And for someone who's listening, take that into consideration that going hard for yourself will never return void. It's something that a lot of times we'll work a 9 to 5 for somebody, we'll, do all these things for other people, pour into other people. Pour into yourself and something that you want to do and just see where it takes you.
Beautiful. Excellent final last words. And hey, thank everybody for joining us. Thanks again to Alicia for coming on to be our guest for this episode of the I Am Courtney Chandler podcast. Remember, you can watch and listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and you can watch on YouTube. And then, of course, you can follow I Am Courtney Chandler podcast on Instagram and on Facebook. Until then, continue to discover yourself, embrace it, and unlock the potential within. We'll see you soon. Thank y'all so much. Talk to you soon.